Hello and welcome to today's lesson on bathroom design in Google Sketchup. Now today's lesson is not that difficult, so I recommend this for beginners, but if you're a complete beginner at SketchUp, please check out my lesson on the fundamentals. This will walk you through all the basic tools of SketchUp and it will really help you out going into this lesson. Also, if you're interested in garden design, I've done a video on that as well, so check that out if you'd like. Now today's lesson is fairly straightforward, so this is great for beginners, and what I'm going to do is take you step by step from your existing bathroom that you're not very happy with, and then we're going to work through it and create something that you can be really happy with and have a new bathroom design to show a builder, your friends and family, or anybody like that. But today's lesson, what I will do is I will work on my existing bathroom that I have to use, and what we do initially is we create a plan of the bathroom, so that means measuring up your existing bathroom. So your bathroom, you will need to get a tape measure and measure all the corners and all the walls and create a 2D plan, and from that we will get that into SketchUp and start building our room and start adding all the features that we would like. Now I do recommend that if you've got some inspiration or some ideas in mind that you want to use, make sure you have them handy. So if it's on Pinterest or Instagram, make sure you can look at them and reference them, so that way we will have a plan of where we want to end up. So I use an image that I find in this lesson that I really liked, so from that, and that was our reference throughout the whole design of the bathroom. So again, this lesson is not that difficult, so if you're a beginner in SketchUp and want to do some interior design and redesign your bathroom, then this lesson should really help you out. The beautiful thing about SketchUp is we can adjust designs throughout, so you could come up with one design and then, you know, say if the colour's slightly off or you want to change an aspect of it, you can do that very easily, which is great. I hope you enjoy the lesson. Let's get to it now, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so first things first, what I want you guys to do is get some good reference photos of your existing bathroom. So as you can see here, this is the bathroom I'm working on today. It's not the biggest bathroom, which actually will, you know, pose its own challenges because it is actually a smaller bathroom. So how you utilize the space will be more important. So yeah, this is kind of the bathroom I'm working with at the moment. I've got a window there, which is very important, so make sure you've got a good reference photo of the window. And yeah, again, we just take photos so that we don't have to keep running to the bathroom to have a look at what was where or what's existing. So these photos are good to have. So yeah, so once you've taken some photos, you should also take your measurements, as I've probably explained. So this is kind of the measurements I've got on this existing bathroom at the moment, and also this little image here is like it's a side profile, so there's actually a slope in the roof, so I've actually taken those dimensions as well with the tape measure. Also, what I actually added after I took this photo was I added the height of this window, and yeah, the height of it here, so the height off the ground and the height of it here. So once you've got that, we can jump straight into SketchUp. Right, so when you click on your little SketchUp icon, if you've got it on your desktop or in your toolbar, you'll come to this window unless you tick this off. And again, I'm just going to briefly cover this, but I cover this a lot in my fundamentals video, so check that out if you haven't. This is where you can set your template. So I always work in millimeters, and so if you work in feet and inches, select that one, or meters, but millimeters is the best for me. So I'm going to click that and then click Start using SketchUp. Right, so now SketchUp's opened up. You may notice my toolbar looks a bit different to yours. So these are just other extensions. This is our shadows. This is V-Ray extension. But the main thing is the larger tool set. Again, I covered this in my first video. But just a quick reminder, if you go Window, Preferences, and then come down to the bottom where it says Workspace, and you click larger tool button, so that will enable this larger tool palette. It just for beginners, it will just show you the tools, and it makes it all a bit easier to use and accessible. So have that going if you can. Right, so first off we wanna create our plan. So from that little sketch drawing we had, what I can actually do is I can grab our file from the folder and literally drag it into SketchUp, which is really useful. So for your guys' sake, so you guys can see it, because I've actually got it in front of me on my table, but so you can see it, I'll just drag it in. And what I'll do is I'll start from the edge of I'll start from this corner here and work my way around just using the pen tool. So we'll start that. So again, I'll make sure always to start on the origin when I start any new project, just because it keeps everything neat and tidy, and yeah, it doesn't mess anything up. So first off, our first measurement is 3550. Hit enter, and then we got 770, and then this is where our window sits, and it's got a 1020. Then we got another 800 gap, and then actually I should just move that so you can see it a little bit better. I'll put that here for you. And then I've got a 3550 all the way back here. 3550, hit enter, and then we've got 410, which is where the door sits, and then the 750 for the door, and then the rest just joins up to the end point like so. So there we've got a flat plane. That is this measurement. And yeah, I'm going to do the thing again where you've seen in my last videos, I add tabs to any major features so you know where they are. So where this window sits in the bathroom, I'm going to actually find the endpoints of that line that I drew, so here and here, and just add a little tab onto the face, like so, and that would just remind me that there's a window there. And then I'm going to do the exact same for our door. So go to the endpoint of that 400 line like that, add a face, add a line, and there. So now we know where my door sits, where the window sits, and we have our little 2D plan at the moment, and we can move our man out the way. Again, I like to keep the man in the model. A lot of people delete him, but you'll find when you start building stuff, it's a good way to scale and understand how big you're drawing. So this little man is actually the size of a normal average man. So yeah, keep him in your model. But yeah, that is the plan. So once you've got your sketch done and you measured all your bathroom, get the ground plan into SketchUp, and then we can move from there. Okay, once you've got your plan drawn, I like to group the plan. So I'm going to triple click everything, make sure it's all highlighted, even our little tabs, and I'm going to press Ctrl G, and that will group it as one solid body so you don't mess up your plan. And now what we want to do is add our walls in. So to do that, we can just grab a rectangle, come to our endpoint, and then make sure it's on the right axis, so the blue axis, and then I'm going to draw a little rectangle like that. Again, I'll just group it quickly, so select it all, Ctrl G, go into the object and bring it up. And so I measured the ceiling height. It's actually on here, you can see it here. It's so 2220. So that is for this right hand wall. So I'm going to type that in now, 2220, hit enter, and that will give our wall height. And so I'm going to do the same on this side. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and it doesn't matter about how deep the wall is, really. I mean, you could do that manually, but you could just add just make it 200 mil or whatever looks correct to you. We can always adjust it later just by going into the object and push pulling it. But this is just to get the initial, just the wall structure and the room structure built. So yeah, on the profile of this room, I have this 1900 mil wall, and then so basically it goes from 2220 to 1900, and the gap in which it does that over is 850 mil. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to build again another wall. So I'm going to hit the rectangle tool, build it from here. Make sure you're on the blue axis always. Go to this endpoint like so. Not locking on, but that's fine actually because we can just make it. There you go, it's locking on now. So another rectangle, group it, and so now because this is this other wall, it needs to be 1900. So I'm just going to make it 1900. Pretty straightforward stuff, really. Hit enter, and then what we're going to do now is do this little sloping bit. So from 850, yeah, so the distance is 850 the way it's sloped. So in order to do that, what we can do is just go onto this wall, and then I'm going to grab a line tool, and I'm going to find where these two intercept. So there, and I'm going to go, well, it was, yeah, 850. So I'm going to go on the red axis, I'm going to type 850, hit enter. Then I'm going to come up here like so, and then so now I know this to this needs to be joined, so I can just simply do this, and I can get rid of this using the push pull tool, and then I can just get rid of these lines to neaten it up. So now that is the slope of my roof. So that's a quick way to do that. And then obviously because this is the same on this side of the wall, but we've got a door here, but we can change that later. I'm just going to actually copy this wall like so, and then drop it into place like that. So I might actually just neaten up these walls a little bit, make them all look a bit similar in depth. So something like that should be fine. Right, so that is all your walls in. Next we need to add the windows and the doors. Okay, so first off I'm going to actually create our window here, so I can show you the image again. So we've got a window on this rear wall, and I've actually added some more measurements to my plan that's in front of me. So I measured the height that the window is from the floor. So this height here is actually 750, and then also the height of the window itself is 1320. So this is in front of me, but this is on the screen so you can see it. So I hope that makes sense. So right, in order to do this, there's a pretty quick way to do it, and I showed this in my garden design video when I was building the houses. You just grab a rectangle tool, go from where your plan has those little tabs that we added in. We go from there, and we just draw a rectangle. Doesn't really have to be, I mean, it can just, you just do, okay, let's just do this, a rectangle like that. So obviously this is lined up with our tab, but this isn't. So we can just simply grab this line, hit the move tool to move it, sorry, hit the move tool to move it, and we can just align it to this. So we now know that this width is correct. So this is our 120 width, and we can measure that with a pencil. See, it's 1020 mil, which is perfect. So, and the height that I've measured is 1320. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm just going to draw a line and just make it 1320, hit enter, and that is where it ends. So again, I'm just going to grab this line of the rectangle and move it up to this point, like so. For some reason it's not looking on. Why is it not looking on? Okay, now we have our window. We can double click it, group it, and then the height off the ground is 750, so I'm going to add a line just from the ground. Make sure you're on the blue axis, and I'm going to type 750. So that is where our window sits, like so. So we can look back at the photo, and yeah, we can see that it's pretty much bang on where our window is sitting, and it's the correct size. So from here we can make the actual window frame, and to do this I know that this window has a simple like cross section So we can do this really easily. We can just draw a line from the midpoints, like so. Make sure you're always on the correct axes. And then what I'm going to do is just offset it by a little bit to create a frame. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be bang on, just to 17 mil. And I can repeat that action by just double clicking. And then what I'll do is I'll actually make them two separate, the top and bottom pieces separate, because I know that's how these windows work. One of them overlaps as you open it, so we'll do that and it's easy to do. So the first one I'm just going to push pull a little bit, and then this bottom one I'm just going to do the same. Oops. I'm basically going to do the same. I'm just going to have a little offset, give it a little bit more detail. And then these will be our windows, so I'm going to bring these forward like so. And there we have a window. And what I want to do is just insert it into the wall. So to do that, I'm just going to go into this wall group, and I'm going to hit the rectangle tool. And I'm going to, just go from the point. Just make sure when you draw the window it is actually on the face. Because if it isn't, it will just get annoying. But luckily, because I've been doing this a lot, it is on the face. And I grab the rectangle and I stretch it to the bottom side of my window like that, and that's actually created a face on this wall. And we can, so I'm actually clicking it now, but you can't see that because obviously the window's in the way. And I'll push pull that to this back edge, and it should disappear. And it hasn't disappeared. Okay, so do that again. There we go, it's disappeared. So now we have a window, and I'm just going to set it back into the wall a little bit like that, again on the green axis. And then we can just to, I mean, this is, you don't need to do this, but just for, because you can, if we go to the bucket tool and grab just the translucent grey glass, and then we go into, saying that we haven't, oh yeah we have, we go into the window, we can make these parts grey, just so you know you're looking at a window. And also we've got a little, this like little framey bit, I mean we can add that in. I might do that at a later point, but what I like to do is just add a, we can do is just add a little rectangle here, and then just push pull it out a little bit. Oh, that line, need to get rid of that. Get rid of that. Group this actually. Push pull. And then that's added a bit more of a frame around. I might at a later point add a frame to make it a bit more realistic. But there you go, that is our window in place. Next we're going to move on to our door, which will be on this side. Cool. So we've got our window in. Now I'm just going to add a door. And what I'm actually going to do is just create a door that, just create a hole for our door essentially, because later I'm going to add a door that I like. So to do that, I'm just going to go into our wall section, and again, like our window, we will draw a rectangle, and that's actually locked on for me quite nicely. And I know my door is 2 meters high, so if you see in the bottom right, I can kind of do it by eye. Okay, maybe not. Let me just do 2000 by 750. Hit enter, and that's our frame. And then I'm just going to drag this through like before. So now we have an opening to the bathroom like that. So again, you can see from the photos, this is kind of now our shape of our bathroom. So there, you can see that entrance, and then we've got that happening right now. So we've got a little entrance coming in. And then, yes, so we have a window, we have a door, well, a door hole. Now we can move on. Okay, so we have our room built. We haven't put a roof on it yet. We'll do that later. But now you're probably thinking, what do we do now? How do we design our garden, our bathroom even? Too much garden design, people. So this is where your inspiration and your ideas will come in. I like to look at Pinterest. Pinterest is an amazing place to get inspiration and ideas, uh, and it's a very useful thing to use. So I mean, you if you've got an idea in your head, that's great. I mean, you can probably make it happen within SketchUp, but I think if you have something to go by, some kind of guidelines, it can really help create, a really nice bathroom. So I recommend looking through Pinterest, creating some mood boards and little ideas of things that you'd like to have in your bathroom. So like this is a nice little like floating shelf storage system with the sink on top. This is really nice. So what you can do is pick and choose little elements that you'd like to have in your bathroom. So say if you want some lighting like this, some LED backlit mirrors, that would be a cool thing to add, or gold and white theme. Um, but bathrooms are all about breaking up the space and having a good contrast between, say, tile and the floor, or a plain wall and some wood. So it's all about mixing materials, but in a nice manner. So here's another really good example. We've got a textured area for the sinks. So this is really nice wood texture with a contrasting floor tile with obviously a big mirror, which is a window here, so that's letting light in. Yeah, so have a scout about Instagram, Pinterest, until you find something that you can see working in the space that you have. Obviously, everyone's bathroom size will be different. But so if you've got a smaller bathroom, look at small bathroom ideas. If you've got a bigger bathroom, look at obviously bigger ideas, and then also figure out what you want to keep in your bathroom. So for the bathroom that we're working on, I know it's got an actual bath in it, but I'm actually going to take that out to create a bit more space within it. So maybe you just have a shower unit and a toilet. Maybe you don't need a bath in your house. Maybe you think actually it doesn't get used enough, so why would I have it? And then you can create a larger shower area, which would be really nice to use. So I'm actually going to base the bathroom that I design on this one here. So this is one that I found that I think is really nice, and it would fit nicely in the space that we have. So this example is actually a smaller bathroom. So here's a bit about it. This is the company that make it. But what I like about this is this kind of chevron tile effect with these black features. So you've got a black shower head, black controls for that, and then obviously this black frame with the glass in it. I think it's really cool. And I like the use of this live edge piece of wood to create this sink area. I think this is really cool, and I think I want to use this. And they've got a pretty sleek toilet and a kind of cool towel holder area. And as you can see, this is obviously a very small bathroom, really small in fact, but they've used the space really well. So this is kind of what I'm going to be working with, this kind of aesthetic of round shapes. So these sinks are really nice. So I'll probably add very similar sinks. I'm basically trying to recreate this kind of bathroom in the space that we have. So obviously I think we've got a bit more space, so there's going to be a few more elements that I can add. But yeah, so once you narrow down kind of the theme and vibe that you want, you'll be able to, well, we can then start building, and I'll show you the process I do to kind of replicate this style in the bathroom that I've got. Yeah, so we'll go from there. So this is our base point. This is kind of what we want to achieve, this kind of look and feel, and we will work from there. Okay, so the first thing I want to do in my model is actually try and get some of that tile texture within it. So doing that will just set the vibe off nicely. You'll start to be able to, see what it's looking like. So if I want to replicate that, the one in this bathroom, I've just basically Googled chevron tile texture, and it's given me a lot of different results. And what you ideally want to get is something called a seamless texture. without obviously without this little number in it. You want something that can be patterned throughout your model without any seams, or without any obvious seams. So there's a lot of options, but what it might actually take is for you to find something that's close. So like this is actually pretty close to what we want to achieve. It might be slightly whiter than we want. And what I've done then is I've downloaded this and I've just put it into Photoshop, and I've created I've cropped out this part, this black part, and I've actually just darkened it a little bit, so I can show you that. Here, we go to here. So I've actually edited that image, and it loads, which it probably won't. Do that again. Basically, yeah, there you go. I've edited it, so I've darkened it, I've taken off that little bar, and we can now use that within our SketchUp model to replicate the tiles that we've seen here. So I'm going to do that now for you. So if we go back into our SketchUp model, and say I know I want those tiles to be on our floor, so I'm going to grab my bucket tool, and I like to just select a color, a generic color. It doesn't matter what color it is. Hit that, and then I'm going to come up to here to create material, and this is where you use a texture image. So I can open up an image that I want to use. So I know it's in here, and it is this one, I believe. So I can open that, click OK. So now it's on my bucket, and if I click on the floor, you'll see that the texture's been applied, but at a really small scale. So in order to quickly adjust that, we'll go to Edit, and if I just change that unit to 1000, it's probably still a bit small. So maybe let's do 1200, maybe 300. So, oh, didn't mean to do that. So that is now on our floor, and let's undo that paint quick. And it looks pretty cool. And I think I want to also have this wall covering be the same, this texture. So we can just double click on that and then apply that. Cool. So that's just applied our tile texture. I think it looks good. But that's the basis of how you get a texture into SketchUp. So you'll find a Google Images result. You might have to do a bit of editing in Photoshop to get it to how you want it to look. But as you can see from this, we've kind of this is pretty similar to our reference, this. So that is good. But yeah, so you might find difficulty finding something exactly that you want, but a bit of editing, and you know, you can even edit. Say if the color is still quite off, you can just edit it within the SketchUp editor, which is quite nice. So if I want it a bit lighter, I can just do that, and it's just made it a little bit lighter for us. And again, if you wanted to change the color a bit, you can just adjust it. Ooh. So obviously it doesn't like. Oh, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? That's very interesting. But yeah, so say if you can adjust the color. Say if it's a white tile, it should adjust a bit better than this, because obviously there's an offset issue here. And then if you want to reset the color, you can just hit this button down here, and it resets. But I'm going to leave it slightly, yeah, like that, which is great. Okay, I want to actually add in the shower first. So our existing shower is actually in this corner, and I think that's probably the best place for the new shower to go. And remember, I'm trying to replicate something similar to this. So I want this nice frame in black with a glass screen and maybe this kind of bar going across. So I'm going to build that now within our model. So if we first off, I want to create that like kind of glass window, which is going to go, you know, on this side behind the door. So I'm going to just start by drawing a little rectangle, and it's probably going to come into the bathroom probably about a meter, maybe a bit more than a meter. And I'm going to do 1200 by probably 30mm will be a nice size initially. So this, we can now group that rectangle, bring it up to about, it's probably, I brought it to the height of the door there, but I'll probably have it a little bit higher. So this is going to be our frame. So that might be a bit long, but we can always adjust it. I might actually adjust it now. I'll take off that 200. So it's a meter long now. And what I can do to quickly make up our frame is if I can go back into this shape, and then I can just offset it ever so slightly. So I'm going to offset it by 30 again, and we should have something like that. And then if I push pull this through, we will have a frame. So that looks about right. So yeah, now let me just add the glass quickly. So I'm gonna, again, I'll draw a little rectangle here. And then what I can actually do, if I select it all and hit the M move tool, I can grab the midpoint and I can align it to the center of our existing group. So if I group that, push pull this rectangle up. Again, this is very simple stuff, just simple rectangles. So now we've got something within our frame. So if I grab my bucket tool, and if I hit the Alt key, I can click on my window, grab that grey, put it in like that, which is cool. And then for this frame, it wants to be a darker color. So if I grab, let's grab this dark color. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at, really. That looks good. And I think, so I probably will have that kind of structure going across this wall. So for that, I'm just going to draw, again, another rectangular shape. So that's 30 by 30. So group that, push pull that across here, and then I'll probably move it to about somewhere like there. Oh, okay, so our wall is lower, so it's probably going to have to be around there somewhere, and that should be fine height wise. I don't think anyone's going to bang their head on that. And again, I'll color it the same color. It's nice. And you know what, I might add another bar across here, so I could actually just copy this one, just to add a little bit of detail, something interesting to add. I'm going to move that to this point here, and then I'm going to push pull this here to this point. Lovely. Okay, that looks quite cool. And so we're going to be using the 3D the 3D warehouse a lot to grab elements that we need. So I'm going to grab a shower head and all the controls from 3D warehouse, and I'll show you how we do that now. So I want to try and replicate this kind of shower head and controls. I think these are really cool. So in order to do that, we're going to jump into the 3D warehouse. So to do that, you go Window, 3D warehouse. And here you'll probably have to sign in if you haven't signed in already, or make an account even if you haven't made an account. But what the 3D warehouse is, it allows us to type in anything we need, and it'll bring us up a load of models that people have made, other people have made, that you can download into your model. So we want to replicate the shower head that we just saw. So that, I mean that, but what, yeah, so there's going to be parts of the model. Say you download this one here, obviously we don't need this flooring thing, so you could delete that and just keep the parts that we need. But in terms of controls, I think this is kind of what we want, maybe not that shower head. So I'm just going to load this directly into my model, and hopefully if they build it correctly, it should be to scale. So that looks roughly to scale. So we can just move this over here, and then I can rotate it. Oh, do that again. Rotate it 90 degrees. And basically, I think we just want to keep the controls because these controls are quite nice. So I'm going to grab this edge and then put it onto our surface. And sometimes you've got to be careful when you import stuff. People build it on a massive scale, or sometimes on a tiny scale. But this one, I don't know, that does look quite big for a handle, so I might just scale it down ever so slightly like that. So yeah, these controls look good. And obviously, like the positioning of your shower and toilet, they may kind of already be set in stone depending on your plumbing. But if you've got the ability to move them, that is always good. So you can, play around with it in the model. So yeah, I like these controls, but I'm not a fan of this head. So I'm gonna go into this group, get rid of this head, and we'll look for a new shower head. So we're going back into the 3D warehouse. We want to kind of, I'll type in shower head. Ooh. We want a round, nice big round shower head that is actually wall mounted. So, let's see. So that looks quite good. A matte black. Yeah, maybe that one would do. Maybe we'll have a look at this one. We'll import this into our model. See what that looks like. That looks good. Yeah, it looks really good actually. We've got these little ruler lines that we can get rid of. But let's move this again onto our wall. That looks about right. Maybe it's slightly. That's probably about right actually. I kind of like that. So we'll get rid of these little ruler lines. We don't need these. Make sure you don't delete any of the part. Oh, like that. You don't want to do that. Make sure you select the right bits you want to delete, obviously. On that. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that looks good. And I think I might actually take this color and actually apply it to our frame as well. So it's slightly darker black, but it looks quite cool, I think. And then we will also apply that to our controls. That might mean going into the group. Yeah, we're gonna have to go right in. Ooh. Could triple click everything. Same for this. And then this little holder, make that black as well. So I'm just pressing B to bring up the bucket tool. And then I'm escaping to leave the model. Cool. So that might need some slight adjustment. Maybe I can move it into the center. If I grab roughly the center point on this one, so that looks like a center point. I'll move it into the center of this, like so. That looks kind of cool. Adjust that slightly. That's kind of looking like the controls we need. Starting to look more like our inspiration. So let's grab that up again. So yeah, I mean they might have a slightly thicker head and a narrower little spout thing, but I think it looks good. Right, cool. Guys, just a quick thing on the camera settings. You might find if you've got a small room like this, well, the small bathroom, you'll find that when you're trying to look inside it, you don't really have such a good field of view, and it can look a bit distorted and looks a bit like a kid's toy. It doesn't look like a real room. So we can actually adjust the camera within SketchUp, and I recommend you do this if you've got a small room. So if you go camera, and then if you click on field of view, so at the moment at the bottom right you can see it says 35 degrees. I'm actually going to increase that to maybe, I mean you can do it to as much as you want, but maybe like 77 initially. We can have a look at that. Yeah, that's a bit better. So as you can see already, it kind of makes it feel a bit more like you're in the room. So when we move our camera about, you can see that we've got a wider field of view, so it looks a bit more realistic. I might actually increase it ever so slightly more to field of view. I'm going to crank it up a little bit more to about 85 degrees. So what that does, it does what it says essentially. You've got a wider field of view now. So now when we like zoom into our bathroom, we can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. It makes it a bit more realistic in terms of moving around the model. So like here, this actually looks like you're in the bathroom, as opposed to, we go to our field of view again and I change it back to 35, 30, okay, roughly 35. Now if I go back to the same position, well, even so, you almost can't get into that same position because your field of view is too narrow. So yeah, that's just a little tip. Yeah, so just make sure you go camera, field of view. If you're working on a small bathroom or even a room, I think it's best to increase your field of view a little bit. So I'm going to go to about 80 to 90, and I think that's a bit better. So you can maneuver around your model, and it actually gives you a more realistic perspective of it. Cool, that's just a little tip. Right, so I've just had a little play around with the proportions of the shower. I've actually just taken it in a little bit and actually reduced the height to match the wall. I think it looks a little bit better. And also I found a slightly better shower head that I wanted to use. And then I just grabbed a drain cover off the extension warehouse like we did before. And also I just changed the field of view again ever so slightly. So I'm on 72. So that actually gives you a bit more, it's not as quite as distorted as the 80 was. So it gives you a bit more scope, but also it's not too distorted, which is great. And I want to I think I actually want to have this wall covering because it's where the shower faces. So this is going to be a kind of like wet area. I want to actually make this wall the same tile that we have here. And so yeah, the floor and these two walls will be on with this chevron pattern of tile. So yeah, I've just yeah, had a little adjust of the shower. I think it looks a bit better now, and it's in proportion. And we've got some nice room there. So yeah, next we're going to move on to that sink area. So this kind of area, I want to try and replicate something like this in our area. So we'll get onto that now. Okay, so we want to try and replicate this within our SketchUp model. I really like this. So yeah, we're going to be using the 3D warehouse again. It is your most valuable asset when building things because it will save you a lot of time actually building it yourself. And there's just tons of stuff. People are uploading new stuff every day. So I think for this layout, so currently there is a bath here within this bathroom, but I'm actually going to omit the bathroom. So we're going to get rid of the bathroom. And the toilet is actually positioned around here. And I think I'm going to flip the toilet to this side by the window. So you can look out the window while you're on the toilet, which is great. But in terms of the sink area, I think it's going to be here. It's going to be on this side. So first things first, I want to try and find something that will replicate this live edge wood. This is a really cool feature and I want it in my bathroom. So again, we're going to drop into the model and I'm going to go to 3D warehouse and we're going to type in, what we're going to type in? We're going to type in probably live edge table. That might work. I mean, okay, yeah, this is exactly what we want. So I'm probably going to have to dismantle, you know, this. What is that one? That one looks quite good. I mean, that one, they all look pretty similar to what I'm after. That one's probably a bit too of an aggressive, whatever it's called, curve. This one looks a bit more subtle. So let's just grab this. So a lot of this is going to be just adjusting existing models. So okay, so this is cool. This is what we need, but obviously it's far too big, and yeah, but this is close to what we need. So initially I'm going to scale this down because it's far too big. We probably want it to be about 1.5 meters probably in length. So what is this? So that's almost 1.5 meters. Maybe go a bit further. So that's 2 meters. Let's do 1,800. So I'm just drawing a line here as a little reference point. So when I scale this up, I know how big my piece of wood is. So it's about there, isn't it? Probably a bit too big still. Let's just scale it down a bit more. Probably 1.5 meters is about right. So we want it like that, and I obviously want it against my wall, something like that. We can move that up, like so. So let's have a look at what we're saying with that. So basins, you kind of want, slightly higher than your average countertop. So this is 850. So we probably want it at least 1 meter high. Again, if you've got a tape measure in front of you, which I do actually, you can just get your tape measure out, put it on the floor. So now I'm looking at my tape measure. Yeah, so I probably want my basin to sit around the 1 meter mark. I feel like that is appropriate. You can probably go a little bit higher. I think 1 meter is good. So we're going to make the top of this surface at 1 meter or 1,000 millimeters. So I'm going to draw in a 1,000 meter line, grab my surface, grab it from the face, move it up, and then snap it to that point. So that is 1 meter off the ground, which does look quite high, but I think that's probably right. I mean, we can always adjust it later. And I'm going to tuck it in a bit more, I'm going to tuck it into like here, slightly off the edge. Okay. So that is something, isn't it? So we can get rid of that. Now these little bracket things, they almost work, but they're a bit too big. So maybe I can just, so I can actually just scale these down. So if I select them both, I can just scale these down to a more appropriate size, because they do kind of look like brackets. So that is probably right. And then I'll move this one. Oh, not them both, just that one, please. Move this one out. Move this one out. Looks about right. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can make it perfect if you want, but for speed, sometimes I just eye things. Actually, well, let's just, because otherwise you'll become a perfectionist, which isn't necessarily the best thing. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And you know what? I might actually try and close that face on that, because that's a bit annoying. This little. So if someone's made this correctly, they haven't. So it's not a component. If this was a component, then when I edit this one would change as well, but they haven't done that. So we just have to duplicate it across. So maybe if I just draw a line from here to here, does that close our face? Yeah, it closes that face. But how do I close this face? Do a line to. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! See, SketchUp, you can get lost in it quite easily. And that's where that field of view comes in. I think if you had that larger range of field of view, you might not be able to. It might not be as easy to get into components like this. But that's good. That's sealed that all up. And now I want to make it that black color that we've used for our existing frame. So I hit the bucket tool and hit Alt. So I've got the pipette thing. Pipette that color, and I'm going to apply it to all of this, like so. Yep, that's applied. That looks good. And now I'm just going to copy it across. So I'll click the move tool and then I hit Control to make a copy. And I'm going to fix myself to the green axis. And I'm going to come here and put it where this existing one was. And then hopefully I can just delete that one like that. Cool, so now they're aligned. And yeah, I think it does look pretty good, doesn't it? Maybe I'll just move it in a little bit so it's just the wood itself actually. It's a little bit narrower. So how wide is that? So we've got, what's that? This is about 300. So we probably want That's at the skinny point, so maybe make it, I think if we move this another 100 mil, so it is 400, move it back. We had it 100 mil. Okay, that is a good surface. So now if we just look at our reference photo, we've got that live edge. Yeah, these brackets are different. I mean, you could just make them. I mean, that wouldn't take me long to do. I could do that. I might do that when we start wrapping the bathroom up. But yeah, cool. So now I'm going to look for some little round sinks. So let's get to that. Again, we're going to go back into the beloved 3D warehouse. And so if we just type in, yeah, round sink. And this is not, you know, you could obviously just make these sinks yourself. But if you want something, you know, a bit more like interesting, so obviously like this sink, that's actually quite a hard shape to make. And if you're a beginner, you know, you just want stuff that you can grab and you know, put into your model quickly instead of making it. So there's a round sink. It looks a bit too thick for my liking, but maybe it will work. Maybe it will work. That's quite nice as well. More of a bowl than a cylinder. I kind of like the cylinder aspect of it. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to go for this one. Let's get this little vessel sink. Import it. And hopefully it comes in. And sometimes when you import them, they will be massive. They will not be to scale. That will be fine. You just have to adjust it using the scale tool. But 9 times out of 10, people do build things that they upload correct to the correct scale. But when they don't, it's a bit of a pain. So okay, that does look quite cool. It's maybe a bit thicker than I want, but I can always adjust that at a later date. So let's just say, let's give this that kind of grey colour to go into it. Typical. Get that grey. Is it? There you go. Got that kind of grey colour. We're going to get 2 of them. I mean, that's getting somewhere, isn't it? That is kind of looking like our existing one. They have like some thin edge. They do have a thin edge. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a time lapse. I'm going to time lapse me collecting these components. So this tap, these mirrors, and I'm just kind of, when I get back, or after the time lapse, hopefully we will have something that looks more like this. Should be ideal. Cool. Let's get to work. Right, so there you have it. We have our little sink area with our mirrors and our taps and our basins. So I basically found a better basin than the one I had, a slightly thinner one, which looks pretty cool. I've found these nice mirrors that match kind of our inspiration, so really take a look at that. It's a very similar vibe. It's not quite the same. I think I prefer our hanging mirrors actually. I think they look a bit cooler. We've got the live edge going on, we've got our basins, we've got our taps. So the only thing that they've got at the moment is all these little bits of trinkets, and we'll do that towards the end. We'll add some like soaps and hand washers and plants, but that will make it, you know, really come to life. But yeah, so that is our little sink area at the moment. I added also some drainage things, make it look a bit more realistic. Added these pipes. Yeah, and I lowered it ever so slightly. I thought we had it slightly too high. but I'm happy with the way this looks. And now we're going to move on to our toilet. Where are we going to put the toilet, I wonder? Right, that is the next step. Let's do it. So for our toilet, first thing I'm going to do is actually find a toilet that we like. So again, back into the 3D warehouse, and we're going to type in toilet. I think I want to try and replicate the toilet they have in our example that we're trying to, go by. So it was quite a modern looking toilet. It was one of these, I think. It's quite sleek in design. Maybe even that one. There's a lot of toilets to choose from, but I think we'll just keep it simple. We'll get one of these in. Also, if you look on the 3D warehouse, you can see how many times they've been downloaded. So often when they've got a higher download rate or amount even, they are normally better quality models. That's not always the case, but 9 times out of 10 you will get potentially a to scale and a well-made model. Also, when it takes a long time to load in, that normally means there's quite a lot of geometry within the model, which is not necessarily a good thing because it may start slowing down your SketchUp. So we'll see, when we get this toilet in, we will be able to see why it seems to be so big in size. That's even if it does load in, because sometimes it can crash, and maybe it has done that, maybe it has not done it. We will see. Okay, the toilet has arrived in. It's got this massive thing attached to it. So what I like to do when you import something that's a bit messed up like this is go into it, get rid of what you don't need. So get rid of that woman initially. I'm going to escape it. So now my group's over here. So the person that made this model has kindly added in some wool that we don't really need. So we're going to go into the group again, select this, get rid of this, select this line, get rid of that. Anything else to get rid of? No. Okay, so we have our toilet. Right, so my plan was to keep our toilet on this side of the room, and I think that's probably the best way. And this is obviously quite a slimline, discrete toilet. And I think actually it might not be quite to scale. It does look a bit small. Let's just measure that and see how big that is. So it's saying it's 344 mil from top to bottom. So that is pretty small, if I'm honest. So I think they've actually probably not built it to the correct scale. So what I'm going to do is just actually make it ever so slightly bigger. So I'm just going to scale it up a little bit to like there. See, that looks already a bit more in proportion with our sinks and everything else. So that's probably about right. And obviously with the toilet, you're going to have to house a lot of the plumbing behind it. So because this isn't a traditional toilet, so all the plumbing stuff will have to be in its own kind of separate unit. So I'm going to build that, and I think that'll be good because we can add some little bits of storage there as well. So I'm just going to grab the rectangle tool, and I'm initially just going to block it out. So group it, push pull it, and we probably want to go to what's a good height, maybe the midpoint of this window. Might be a bit high actually, maybe we can drop that down a bit. And it might actually be a bit long. So just play with it, play with your model when you're adding shapes. That looks kind of realistic. And then we can butt our toilet up. Do that. And it's probably off the floor ever so slightly, yeah, like so. And we want space either side, so probably bring it in slightly closer to the window. Alright, that kind of works. Let's just check the thickness of this. We might be able to reduce it a little bit. So we're 250, so that's not, it's probably about right, to be honest. So this little unit will house all our toilet things, so I think it's called a cistern and all the plumbing stuff. But I actually want to make it so we can have some kind of unit within it. So what I'm going to do is actually copy this top face. I'm going to paste it back on top of it, and I'm going to group it. And I'm actually going to create like a little surface. Ooh. Create a little surface, probably about 18 mil thick, like that. And then I actually want to make some kind of, yeah, little cupboard things here for storage of like toilet roll and cleaner, everything like that. So I'm going to create some rectangles, group them. I'm going to push pull them a little bit. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to try and add a kind of a handle into these. So for that, I'm going to just draw a rectangle like that. And then I'm going to grab it from the midpoint. I'm going to put it on this midpoint, hopefully. It locks. There you go, on that midpoint. And then I'm going to get rid of this bit, like so. So that could be a little cupboard. So I might just double that up. We've got twice the height like that. And then I'm just going to set it in. So I'll go here and I'll into our back unit, and I'm just going to draw a line from top to bottom. And then I'm going to push pull that face a little bit. Just to give it so it's flush with our the faces of these little cupboard things. So we do that first, and then I'm gonna move these to this point like that, so it's flush. Then I can probably bring that forward a little bit more. We meet that. So yeah, cool. That's created like a little storage unit. So it's housing all our plumbing, and then we've got some storage here for whatever you need to put in there. And I might change the toilet color to that kind of grey color. So again, like on our example, they've got a nice grey toilet. I also want to add in some of these controls. So yeah, I'm going to make our toilet grey, like so. Ooh. Grab this grey actually, slightly lighter grey. Might have to go into the model to make it, yeah, like that. And then we've got a face here that's not quite grey. That's cool. And then I also might actually just make this unit a darker color. I think that might look quite cool, maybe slightly lighter. Do that. Or maybe we could have darker and lighter. No, maybe not. So that looks good. That is our toilet kind of positioned and sorted. And then we can use this kind of top bit for, you know, some nice, maybe some decoration, some plant, but we'll get around to that later. So that is our toilet in position. Now we shall figure out what we want to do with this space, and yes, and we also want to add some radiators and other aspects, and also the blinds. Right, we'll get onto that next. Okay, I want to add a bit of seating here. I think I've seen it in a lot of the bathroom inspiration photos on Pinterest. They always have like some kind of bench system, and I think this space is kind of perfect for a bench, and also somewhere to hang your towels. I think I'm gonna have some kind of hooks here. So again, I'm gonna go back into the 3D warehouse, and we're just gonna look for a bench, something that I think would fit fit the aesthetic that we are looking for. So I'm gonna type in bench and see what comes up. Now I think it needs to be kind of a minimalist kind of style. That's quite cool there. I kind of like that already. And it wants to tie into our theme of, we've got quite a minimalist kind of theme running through the bathroom at the moment. So that's quite nice as well. Again, in your own bathroom, the beauty of SketchUp is you can just quickly add things in, take them out, change them around, do whatever really. So there's a lot of benches here. There's quite a variety here. I do want it quite simple. I mean, let's drop this in. Let's see what this looks like. It might be massive, but we'll have a go. Okay, so it's massive, and they've given us a nice bit of grass to go with it, but we don't want that, so we're going to go into it. Go into the group, if it lets me. Just let me, and I'm going to get rid of all of this. And so we just got the bench on its own. If I move this now into our model, okay, it's obviously quite big, so I'm going to have to scale it down a little bit, but I think it could work. Got concrete on it, which is nice, always a good sign. I do like concrete. Let's just scale it down a bit, see what we can do with this. Now, what do I think of that? Well, it's quite cool, isn't it? Let's just make it a little bit bigger. Maybe just make it a bit narrower as well. Obviously, we don't want to intrude on the door. So let's fight it right against the wall. Yeah, I'm not mad at it, to be honest. I make it slightly bigger, and then maybe just thin it down a little bit. We might have to change that texture as well. I think that texture is a bit rubbish. Yeah, so maybe from me. Let's just have a look at that. Go back into the 3D warehouse. I saw one where there was a large range of benches that looked quite interesting. That'd be good, wouldn't it? A big square bench. Yeah, let's have a look at this. So here we've got obviously a variety of different benches. Let's see what they look like. Okay. Yeah, so some of these may fit your theme a bit better than what I'm doing. I think I just want a very simple bench. So I think actually something like this one here will probably do me good. So I'm actually going to select them all, deselect that one, hit delete. And let's play with this bench. So let's rotate it 90 degrees already. And let's grab it by the bottom corner. Bring it into our bathroom. Okay, so this is huge. So we need to scale this down. Let's do that, like so. Okay, now let's get rid of this bench for now. Move this to our back wall. Okay, I do like this. Still a bit big, I think, so let's just scale it down ever so slightly. Maybe make it a bit narrower. And just maybe a little bit taller. Like that. Yeah. Maybe just tuck it in a little, slightly more. Because I mean, it only just needs to be somewhere to perch. Essentially, it doesn't need to be like you're not going to spend hours on this bench. So I might move it down this way a little bit more. Ooh. Okay, that works. Now I wanted to grab some towel hooks, so I'm just going to go back into the 3D warehouse, and hopefully, if we just type in hook, we kind of want like a bathroom. That's quite cool, actually. I do kind of like this kind of style. That's kind of oh, these are maybe a bit better. Perhaps we get a round one to match our kind of round theme. So let's have a look at these. These are quite cool. Yes. And what's good is sometimes actual companies will upload their model to 3D warehouse. So you might find that you'll find an element that you really like, and you'll actually be able to buy it. They normally link off to their website, which is really cool. So yeah, I like these. I think we're going to keep the grey one, the big grey one. Let's get rid of these ones. Cool. So let's grab that, put it on our wall, go up a little bit. It's got to like here. Oh, maybe down a little bit. And what we can do later on I'm going to add, you know, all our little details within our model. So we may have a towel hanging off one of these or something like that. So yeah, I've just pressed Control there to duplicate it, and then I'm going to hit the star key. Oh, star key. Okay, I've messed that up. Let's just undo that. Oh, my mouse controller's disappeared. So yeah, I'm hitting M and then Control to duplicate, and then I'm going to hit the star key. No, I'm going to hit the star key. No, I'm not going to hit the star key. There you go, and then put ×2. That will just duplicate it again, like so. We can centralize that over our bench. Okay. Yeah, I like that. The bench is good. I might change this texture slightly. I might move it. Might move it off the backboard ever so slightly. And yeah, so now we've got room. I might actually just maybe a bit long. Just bring it up there. That's more like it, I think. Yeah. I'm going to group these little hooks so I can move them easily. Yeah, so that's a nice little bench area. I think that works. We will see. We will move forward and we will see. Okay, so now we have our toilet area, our sink area, and this little seating area, and of course our shower area. So these are basically most of the elements we'll need. One more thing I want to get is a radiator. So again, into the 3D warehouse, we are going to find ourselves a nice radiator for our towels, and I want something that well, a narrow one that we can fit just next to the shower would be really good. So as you can see, there's tons of, you know, really good models here. So if you want one of these floor type radiators, there's that option. But I want a wall mounted one, kind of like this. Let's have a look. So I want something. Yeah, this is perfect. This has towels on it as well, so that's great. So I'm going to get this into our model. And hopefully it pops in. Great. So again, we are just going to edit this import. So I'm just going to delete this wall section. And then, so these towels, what's happened there is basically SketchUp's created, whoever modeled this has created tons of little faces. So that's why you're getting that weird kind of like meshiness. So as you can see here, SketchUp's made tons of little faces, and there's a really easy way to get rid of that. But first I'm just going to scale it up to a size that's more suitable for us. And then I'll just drop it down a little bit like that. So that's probably slightly too small, maybe. More like that, I think. That's good, that's perfect. And yeah, so to get rid of these, so if you import an object, it might have all these lines on it. And there's a really easy way to do that. So if you just select the object that has the problem, if you right click it and click smooth and soften edges, and so this little box should come up in your tray. So that's actually corrected it, so we've got rid of all those little lines. But if it's still not corrected, you can just move this slider up and it will just smoothen it even more. And then if there's like edges like adjacent sides, if you tick this box, that should smooth those out as well. That's just a little tip there, but I'm going to leave it right there, that's fine. And because that's a component, it's done it to both of those, so that's great. So yeah, that is basically, that's perfect actually. That is all the elements. Next, what I'm going to do is actually start adding some little decorations around and making it look a bit more real. So I'm going to add soap and some stuff up here, I think, maybe some candles, and I think I'm going to put a big plant here, and then I'm going to probably get some blinds in, and then a rug, I think. So I'll do that, I'll time lapse it, and then you can have a look at it, and then we'll come back when I've finished and I'm happy with it. Cool. Okay, so I've added some little details now. So we got some soap, we got a little plant, we got this really cool rug that I like, and I think that would be cool in the bathroom. And it kind of the zigzag pattern is kind of similar to the pattern we have here on the tiled floor. And then added some candles and a plant here, which I think is really nice. It adds just like a bit of green to the bathroom. And then yeah, just added a few more little details. So like we've got a stack of towels here, and obviously a red towel there. And this is what makes your model look more and more realistic. So if you can spend a bit of time going into 3D Warehouse and just put stuff that you would have in your bathroom, and it will just bring it to life a little bit. It won't be so much of a model. It will look a bit more realistic. And yeah, I also added a blind as well. So what I'm going to do now though is quickly add a ceiling. So I mean, if you've got a flat roof, adding a ceiling is pretty straightforward. You're just going to draw a rectangle across your ceiling. Oh, not like that. Don't know what's in that. So I'll go from this point to here, and if I group that, and then I can just add a bit of depth to it. So let's just give it a little bit of depth. So yeah, if you've got a flat roof like that, you know, most rooms have flat roofs. Well, actually saying that they don't, but that is how you build a quick ceiling. For mine, it's going to be a little bit more tricky. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just offset this outside edge, and then what I'll do is I'll join this line up here, and the same for this one. And I'm actually going to just copy this flat shape, and then if I get rid of this now, if I Control V, I can place this on top of our ceiling like that. And then if I put this point here, that should cover the ceiling. So now if I pull that across to the edge, we should have a ceiling like so. So yes, we have a ceiling. I'm not sure what this is. Let me just group it. Let me just get rid of this line. We don't need that. And we don't need that. So yeah, I now have a ceiling on my roof. I mean, you could probably, if we wanted to, we could just drag this over as well, just to close it up completely. And what I'm going to do now is just quickly add some spotlights. So to do that, again, if you just go to our 3D Warehouse, So our bathroom already has spotlights, so I'm gonna just re-add them in. And if you're changing your lighting over, of course, just put what you'd like to have. But ours has spotlights, and I think it will work well for the bathroom at the moment. I don't see. I mean, you can maybe have some wall lighting or something different, but yeah, I think spotlighting will work best. So yeah, we just want, what do we want? We just want simple, yeah, like this 3-inch spotlight. That's pretty perfect. I wonder how, or maybe, I mean, that looks correct as well. Let's just grab these. Looks like an LED spotlight. So yeah, hopefully you've got a bathroom that you're happy with now. And obviously with SketchUp, you can just change things around so quickly. So if you want to try a different look or a different wall color, it's super easy to do, and you've got the tools now to quickly change anything. You should understand how to change stuff. So yeah, there's one of our spotlights. Let me just offset that a little bit more. That's about right. Yeah, let's just get to the top edge. Okay, so I know we've got 2 runs of spotlights here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go, I'm going to move it along this axis, and then I'm going to times that by 2. And so we've got 3 spotlights there. And I'm going to group these now. I'm actually going to move these slightly to the right hand side. Then I'm going to copy this across here. We've got 6 spotlights. Actually, I should probably space them out a bit more actually, so I can just change that quickly if I go. So I kind of want it there and there. So if I then move this now, grab onto a point that I can reference, and if I hit Control, match it on that one, and times that by 2, that's better. Wider width that we need. And then we can get rid of this old one. Then we can just move these across. Like so. Again, I use the arrow keys to make sure I'm on the right axis. So that's about right. So yeah, if you've got a ceiling and you just want to, make it look really real, putting in the spotlights, that will really help. And yeah, we will move on from here. Right guys, so I've added a door, and I just want to quickly show you something that we can do to look at our model. So if you come into your default tray, hopefully, if you go Window Default Tray, just make sure Shadows is ticked on, and that should give you this little bar that we can adjust. So I'm going to now turn Shadows on, and what Shadows allows you to do is actually recreate sunlight within SketchUp, so you're going to get some nice shadows. I've just turned that on to this so that when we go into the bathroom it makes it a little bit more realistic, and it's important to keep this on when exporting your, well, it's not, I mean, you don't have to, but it just makes it look a bit nicer when you export either a PNG or a JPEG from SketchUp. It can make it look a bit more realistic if you don't have V-Ray or other rendering programs. Now I've just added the door, and one other thing that I just want to quickly touch on is if you've got an object in the way and you want to make it, well, hide it essentially, if you right click it and click hide, that will make it disappear like so. And in order to bring those objects back, if you just go view and then hidden geometry, I've actually created a shortcut in the preferences, so I use Control H. So that will show me the hidden geometry. So if I press Control H now, you can see the meshes there, and then I just right click on it and click unhide, and that should unhide like that. So also, if your SketchUp has a lot of if your models have a lot of geometry within them, it might slow down your SketchUp. So just be aware of that if you're importing, a lot of plants, especially because all those leaves are built up of geometry and stuff like that. So I'm just going to walk us through the bathroom now. So I can hide the door, and then we can scroll through and have a look. I'm happy with it considering what we started from. And let me just remind you what we started from. So these are the initial photos of the existing bathroom. So we've got the window there with a mirror there, and we also had a bath that we now don't have anymore, which is great. And there is the existing shower, and that was the existing door. So yeah, I think we've accomplished our goal of making it look like our example one that we wanted to take inspiration from. So as we come in, you can see we've got our cool tile floor, we've got this rug that I really liked, and we've kind of matched our those sinks from our reference that we used, which is really cool. I really like the plant, having the plant here. I think that adds something that really nice. Also, let me actually get rid of this. Also, our hooks here, I think, are a really cool thing, along with the seating. And yeah, I think overall it's a cool little bathroom. It's much better than what the existing one is. And also, I can just bring back that door in now. So if I go Control H, I can unhide that, and that should come back in a second. But yeah, so what we can do now is we can actually export images straight from our SketchUp. So we can set up a viewpoint. So we can set up something that looks, so like a viewpoint from here is quite nice. It gets most of the bathroom in it, a bit of that ceiling as well. And because we've got those shadows turned on, so you can actually drop the shadows into your toolbar. So I've got the shadows turned on here. So if we just go, I'll show you how to export it, export images. So then you can actually show these to your friends or family, or whoever you want to show your designs to, whether it be an actual builder or someone to actually do the work, which is ideal. This is what these are really good for. So if you go File, Export, and 2D Graphic, what you then should be able to do is just export them. So you've got a few options here. You can adjust the size of it, use the view size, and also you can change it from a JPEG to a PNG, whatever you like. So then we can just title it a bathroom view 1, and we can just export it. So I'll show you some views that I've exported, and I'll also show you some that I've rendered using V-Ray, which is an extension through SketchUp, which I will be showing at some point on my Skillshare. But yeah, I'd really like to see what you guys have created. So with these exports in the projects tab on Skillshare, I know you can upload things. So if you feel like you want to upload and share your work, it might help inspire other people and give other people some ideas. So yeah, that would be really good. But apart from that, I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I'll probably throw it back to me talking in front of my computer, rounding it off. But yeah, this is how we've created our dream bathroom. So I will see you soon. I just wanted to show you some renders that I got using V-Ray. So this is a separate external rendering software that's part of SketchUp. So I just wanted to show you these quickly. I think they've come out really nicely. There's been a few changes since the last part of the video, but as you can see, the renders are really cool. We definitely managed to replicate that look that we were going for, and I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, just wanted to show you those. And yes, again, if you could upload any of your screenshots or exports from SketchUp to the projects tab within this video, that would be really cool. And yes, I will speak soon. I hope you enjoyed that lesson. I hope you got a bathroom that you're happy with, and you saw the process and steps I took to build the bathroom that I'm really happy with. Actually, I like the one that we built today. So yeah, any feedback would be greatly appreciated. If you leave me a review, that would really help me out. Give me a follow on Skillshare, and yeah, check out my other videos. I'm going to be putting out some new videos soon on different SketchUp elements, and maybe even V-Ray at some point, which would be cool. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.